Dear Philip, Mark, dear Wincy, dear all friends in Malaysia and rest of Asia that are joining us this evening. And I'm really delighted to address you all and pray over this important time of Hanukkah. You know, Hanukkah is a very special time in the Jewish calendar. Actually, it's even interesting because it's not mentioned in the Old Covenant. The feast is mentioned only in the New Covenant, and it speaks about Jesus during the Feast of Dedication, which is Hanukkah. And he was walking in the temple, and it was winter. That's what it says in John 10. And of course, then we have the apocryphal books that mention, of course, the whole story with Maccabees and all what was going on. And there are many different opinions why this Hanukkah was for 8 days. Some say that this was actually a repetition of unfulfilled Sukkot that they couldn't celebrate because of the Greek occupation during the Maccabees. So because they were not able to do it on time, they repeated the celebration of Sukkot as they got a hold of the temple, and they could then, of course, rededicate it. And so the 8 days comes from the 8 days of celebrating Sukkot. So I think the very point and the most important point of Hanukkah is for me written in the book of Daniel. And if you read in the book of Daniel 9, it says something that is quite remarkable about the Hanukkah, the dedication. Now, you must remember that very often things get lost in translation. They are not coming into English language as we read it in Hebrew. So when the Hebrew says Hanukkah, it's not necessarily always translated as dedication. Or when you read in your English Bibles dedications, you not always know to make the connection to Hanukkah. But in Daniel 9, I want to show you, and of course you know these scriptures, when the angel appears to Daniel, and we will address this whole thing about prayer for Jerusalem and for the restoration of the Jewish people back to the land, the Aliyah, in the later part of this message. But when Daniel starts to fast and pray after having realized that 70 years that were mentioned by Prophet Jeremiah as the years of Babylonian captivity have ended, he then starts to pray. And then after a while, an angel appears to him, and he says in Daniel 9:23, at the beginning of your supplications, the command came out, and I have come to tell it to you, for you are greatly beloved. Therefore, consider the word and understand the vision. 70 weeks are decreed upon your people and upon your holy city to finish the transgression and to put an end to sin and to atone for iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and prophecy and anoint the most holy place. Now, here we see something that refers definitely to Hanukkah. It says here, anoint the most holy place, להחתים חזון ונביא ולמשוח kodesh kodashim. Now, anointing, dedicating the most holy place is the very calling of the Jewish people. I mean, all of this, what we read here, is the very calling of the Jewish people. Has it happened yet? No, it hasn't happened yet. I mean, you can obviously understand that we haven't made an end to the transgression, and we have not put an end to sin, And the iniquity, although we know the work of the Messiah on the cross has been done, the atonement for iniquity and the introduction of the everlasting righteousness, all it has happened. But there's so many things here that the Lord speaks about through his angel to Daniel that are yet to be fulfilled, as this has not been accomplished. This has not been fulfilled because these 70 weeks and this mandate is given, like it says, upon your people and upon your holy city. So we need to realize that there is something that is so unique about it, so unique about the calling of the Jewish people to dedicate the holy place. So the whole dedication of the holy place, anointing the most holy place, there's something here that is very, very powerful. And I really believe we need more revelation about it. But there is something that I saw recently when we were before we went to Copenhagen. And I want to play a message from Copenhagen shortly, but there is something that is very, very particular that touched me, because I realized that Prophet Daniel in his book, the book is not chronological, because it says in Daniel 9 that he receives the revelation about the ending of these 70 years of captivity during the first year of Darius, the king. Let me just read it to you, because it's really, really remarkable. So it says, in the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of the seed of maids, who was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans. This is Daniel 9:1. In the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, perceived in the books the number of years which, according to the word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah the prophet, must pass before end of the desolations of Jerusalem, 70 years. Now, he specifically says this happens during the first year of Darius's reign. And he says, and I set my face to the Lord God to seek by prayer and supplications with fasting and sackcloth and ashes. And I prayed to the Lord my God and made my confession and said, O Lord, the great and awesome God, keeping the covenant and mercy to those who love him and to those who keep his commandments, we have sinned and we have committed iniquity and have done wickedly and have rebelled and have departed from your precepts and from your judgments. We have not listened to your servants, the prophets, who spoke in your name to our kings and our princes and our fathers, to all the people of the land. O Lord, righteousness belongs to you, but confusion of face to us, as at this day, to the men of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem and all Israel, to those who are near, to those who are far, in all the countries where you have driven them because of their trespasses against you. O Lord, to us belongs confusion of face, to our king, to our kings, and to our princes, and to our fathers, because we have sinned against you. And so on and so forth. So he prays. And in Daniel 6, we have the story about how Daniel was thrown to the den of lions. Now, we don't quite connect these two stories, but it says that Daniel 6 starts with, and Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old. And so it describes the very first year of Darius's reign, that this law that forbade people to pray to God with the threat of being thrown to the den of lions was issued. So that is exactly the same time when Daniel receives the revelation, when Daniel starts repenting and praying. This is the time that the devil wants to forbid prayer. And so that's why I want to just quickly mention to you this message that we had. Now this one is from the concert in New York, but I think it's a powerful message that you will hear. Now think of this, that we are here in New York, and this week the nations will gather. They have sent their ambassadors, and they will try to adopt this unfortunate decision from the International Court of Justice. They will they made it the most horrible decision they can make. I mean, they decided that what God said to Abraham, 4,000 years ago, they decided that what God allocated as a covenant land for the Jewish people, Judea, Samaria, places where Abraham prayed and built his altars, called upon the name of the Lord, like Joe was calling upon the name, that this is illegal. Can you imagine the arrogance? I mean, it's not just insensitivity. It's going to the face of the Creator God and saying, what you have decided and what you have said in your word and what you have covenanted and made to be forever, we, the nations, have decided it's criminal. We have decided it is wrong, and we have decided within 6 months, the Jewish people have to leave Judea, Samaria, East Jerusalem, Gaza. We, the nations. I think we've heard this kind of a phrase before. Gam, also say gam in Hebrew. We read in Genesis 11, when the nations, they were then speaking one language, one tongue. They all came together and they built this tower, and then then God said, look, everything what they will now do is possible. Like in the UN. I mean, you have the majority, anti-Israel majority. If they would decide that Earth is flat and Israel made Earth flat, it will go through. It will just pass. It will pass. So it takes a miracle for them now to stop, because they have decided that this is what they're going to do. They will criminalize God's covenant to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They will criminalize Jewish presence in Judea and Samaria. They will criminalize Jewish presence in East Jerusalem, in Gaza. I mean, they have made up their minds. They have their political machinery together. They have their votes together. They have the ambassadors trained. They have everything fixed. I mean, these honorable ambassadors will gather. And we were there with Joe, actually, a few days ago in the General Assembly room and in the Security Council, and they will be there and they will raise their hand. When God said to Abraham, for your seed I have given this land forever. And they will raise their hands and they will say, wrong. Who asked you? God asked you? Well, they think they have the right to say, God, you are wrong. I wonder what God will say. Actually, he will not say anything. He will laugh. I mean, it's funny for him. He's laughing. He's going, what are they thinking? You're telling Creator, you're telling God, you're telling me? You're telling me what is right, what is wrong? You're telling that you have the majority and that's why you are right? He will laugh. Laugh. I think he's laughing now. He's laughing over this thing. Now there was something that happened, in Genesis 11. Everything was, what they had set their minds to do was, in their reach. and yet he confused their tongues and he scattered them. I was walking by the UN building. I was saying, will you do it again? Would you do it again? I don't know what God will do. I mean, we are here to pray. We're here we are here from more than 30 nations. It's almost United Nations. No, it's 194 in United Nations. Next time we have to have more nations. But I mean, we are here as representatives of nations. We're here to say, look, what our governments have made up in their minds and what the ambassadors have been trained to do and what they have been instructed to do, we are not agreeing. We are not agreeing. We are not happy about it. We are telling God our nations are wrong. We're telling God our countries have made a horrible decision to go against God of Israel. They have made a horrible decision in going against what God's word says to be right. And there will be consequences. I mean, I think the world has become crazy. Because, I mean, the madness of the whole world coming together and condemning Israel, not just once, not twice, 2 times more than the whole world. Last year. I mean, this is a symptom of a sickness. It shows how mad it is. It shows how rotten it is. Something is wrong. Deeply, deeply, deeply wrong. And a red line is about to be crossed. I wonder what will happen. I wonder what God will say. I mean, we saw Iran decided to attack us, 350 projectiles flying towards us. And it was a funny feeling. I can't even tell. I slept very well. My wife said it was the most triumphant night. 99% of the projectiles were intercepted. But not only that, it was a good feeling. Now, it was a lot of noise and, people were afraid, but it was a good feeling. I mean, I can't explain it. It's strange, I know. It's a good feeling. And then 36 days later, the very people that decided to attack Israel thought they will take off in a helicopter and go home. And they did not go home. They went to where they belong. I think we've crossed the red line. Absolutely, we have crossed a red line. And I mean, you remember this Turkish MP who stood in the Turkish parliament and he invoked the curse of Allah and died. The Spanish deputy prime minister who had the guts to say from the river to the sea, and I don't want to repeat, because from the river to the sea is actually what God told Abraham. It's your land from the river to the sea. He didn't say freedom for Catalonia. He didn't. Where are the ones who stand for the Cyprus liberation of Turkish occupation? I mean, it's a crazy world. There's only one nation that they can condemn. They just, as if they have no other purpose in life. Something's wrong. And we are here. Tell God, we don't agree. We will pray. We will say something different.
So this was the message from
I'm so happy also that Robert Ilatov is here this morning with us, former Knesset member, and co-chair of Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast together with Michelle Bachman.
Right. So this is my next message actually, and I will play it in a sec. But this is something that was recorded now in Copenhagen, and I just want to share it with you quickly because I believe it is the very essence of why it is important for us to pray for the peace of Jerusalem,
what it really involves, because it seems like such a simple idea. Why should we, pray for the peace of Jerusalem? Okay, I prayed for the peace of Jerusalem, so what happened? But there's so many layers, so many dimensions here, and let me just quickly share with you this message as well. So here it comes. This one is now from Copenhagen.
I'm so happy also that Robert Ilatov is here this morning with us, former Knesset member and co-chair of Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast, together with Michelle Bachmann, Congresswoman. The whole story began when, Robert, you were appointed by the Speaker of the House in 2016 to the position of the chairman of the Christian Allies Caucus. And I saw that you wanted to get things done. And I was in the Knesset and you said, Albert, can you help me? And I said, how can I help you? And he said, look, we need to build another alliance of the Friends of Israel. I said, why? There are so many. Christian Friends for Israel, there is Christian Embassy, there is Bridges for Peace. Robert said, no, we need something that is ours, something that comes out of here, out of Knesset. And without thinking, I said, Robert, then we need a prayer breakfast. He said, Albert, are you out of your mind? This is a Jewish state. You don't want us to pray to Jesus, do you? And I said, look, Robert, we can find something that the Christians and Jews can agree about to pray together. He said, forget it. We can pray for the peace of Jerusalem, I said. Yeah. And he went to the president, Reuven Rivlin. And I don't know how this conversation went. But when Robert came back, he said, you know what? Rivlin loved the idea. He will host the event. He will support Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast as long as he's in the office. He will not say it in public, but he will do it. Are you going to help me now? Well, what do you do then? You have to start working. And it was a miracle that we were able to gather 570 VIPs, leaders from 58 nations at the first Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast on the 50th anniversary of reunification of Jerusalem, 2017. And how many of you were there? Robert, you were there. Harley, you were there. Michelle were there. Christina, you were there. Harold, you were there. Frederick, you were there. And Jacob, you were there. Amazing. Amazing. I'm sure that there were many more, and there are those online watching us, and it was remarkable. It was remarkable. Michelle Bachmann, she was our keynote speaker, and instead of speaking at Waldorf Astoria, she prayed for half an hour. And nobody ran out. And the whole movement, I believe, was born. And the president was true to his word. He invited us, received us in his residence. We were there. And the Knesset speaker received us in the Knesset. It was powerful, powerful meeting. And we didn't plan. When we at first were planning, we were thinking like this, that, well, if we are able to keep it, alive and to continue year after year in Jerusalem, that would be enough. Dayenu. It would be good. But when you prayed, Michelle, something I think happened that absolutely launched us to a global movement. Actually, it was Jürgen Bühler. He said it during the first dinner. He said, Albert, I sense that your voice is going to become global. I didn't even know what it means. And he was so gracious to support us and help us. And Nick Hansen, where are you right now? I don't know. I don't see you. But we should be standing also with Jürgen Bühler. He's fighting for his health in Germany, and he needs a big miracle so that he would stand up from the wheelchair. He needs it. And I mean, I would ask you to pray for him. He's in need of your prayers right now, like never before. You know, we heard yesterday what a story it was, William Glasgow, about the brain tumor that was operated, and how Orthodox Jews at the Kotel, at the Western Wall, were praying for him, for a Christian man, with all his friends, and how he's healed, how he was healed by God, of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is just outstanding to see these miracles, you know, in our midst. I'm very honored to see member of Folketing, Morten Messerschmidt, with us. Thank you for hosting us in your beautiful city, in your beautiful country. We have Mayor Jakob Neiseger with us. Thank you so much for being with us, for making this beautiful tour in the City Hall of Copenhagen yesterday. Was unforgettable, unforgettable. And you know, the way how it works is exactly like this. You know, Robert, when he started it in the Knesset, he sent out his letters telling the Christian leaders all around the world, we are asking you to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And then people from other countries started picking it up. So we had the First Lady of Uganda. We had the President of Ghana. We had the First Lady of Brazil, Michelle Bolsonaro, former First Lady. We had the members of parliament from Holland, from Finland, from Estonia, from Sweden, from Australia, from United States of America, congressmen, senators, inviting us to their cities. And this is, Morten, what you have done. You have opened the door. I mean, by saying, yes, I want Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast to come to Denmark, to come to Copenhagen. You have opened a door for a blessing over your country. Because this is something that is totally you know, unbelievable. When you, as I said, study the history, you will see how Theodor Herzl, a journalist at that time in Vienna, gets a burden about the Jewish state. I mean, the Jewish people were praying about return to the land of promise for 2,000 years. But suddenly this man writes this little booklet and stirs up the whole world. There was a Christian man, William Veksler, saw that book in Vienna, picked it up, read it, and started frantically to seek, to meet Herzl. He meets Herzl without introducing. He tells him, where have you been? I've been looking for you. I've been telling about you that you will come. Because he was believing that the redemption will start for the Jewish people in 1897. Don't ask me how he calculated it, but there's been a cycle of jubilees from that day forward. Now, why am I saying this? Because there were 10 Christians whom Theodor Herzl invited to Basel. Henri Dunant, the founder of the Red Cross, I think he's so ashamed of what Red Cross is doing right now, but again, he was there. Veksler was there. 10 Christian delegates at the first Zionist Congress in Basel. And do you know what Herzl wrote in his diary? In Basel, I established a Jewish state. If I would say that, he wrote, in public, everybody would laugh at me. But in 5 years, for sure, in 50, the whole world will see it. Now make your math calculations. 1897, he writes it in his diary. Add 50. 1947, the vote at the UN, the partition vote. 33 countries. Now, UN was smaller than 50 something. 33 countries voted for. Who could have thought? The prophecies of 2,000 years, more, 3,000 years, that the Jewish people will be scattered and then regathered to the land, suddenly becomes reality. Can a nation be born in one day? Yes, it happened. And 11 minutes after the declaration of Ben-Gurion, our first prime minister, United States of America confirmed and declared the recognition of the newly born state of Israel. Now, why am I saying this? Because there were Jews and Christians working together. Why did Truman recognize Israel? I mean, he was so busy, and his own State Department was so much against it. He didn't want to be entangled in another war. Marshall actually sent out an ambassador to United Nations saying, we don't recognize Israel. It actually happened. They had tricked Truman even to sign this. And yet he says, no, we are supporting. There's such a battle about Israel. There's such a battle about Jerusalem. There's such a battle because the peace of Jerusalem is the peace of the whole world. Whole world. And there is something about prayer for Jerusalem that is groundbreaking, that is shaking the earth, that is changing the history. Now, I spoke yesterday a bit about the fact how Daniel reads from the book of Jeremiah that 70 years that Jerusalem was desolated have come to an end. And he starts to pray. Now, he says this in the 9th chapter. He says that it happened to him on the first year of King Darius. So it's not 9th chapter, it's 6th chapter. You remember what is in Daniel 6? His friends, colleagues, made the king to pass a law. Nobody can pray for 30 days. Nobody can pray for 30 days. Only to king, or be thrown into the den of lions. Why 30 days? Well, we read in the book of Daniel that it took 21 days for an angel to come. So they knew they have to stop Daniel. Why? Because there was something in the making, something that was so great, something about the future of the whole world that they tried to stop. You say, well, look what happened. I mean, he was thrown to the den of lions. Well, look what happened. He came out of the den of lions without a scratch. And then what happened? The king said, I'm going to change the laws of the land. Everybody has to fear the God of Daniel. Everybody has to respect that God who saved him out of the lion's den, despite my stupid law. He didn't add that. But you see, we are at a major crossroad. And Martin, we are so thankful for your country. Denmark, for the last 100 years, I mean, you have had a long history of supporting Jewish people, but saving the Danish Jews from Holocaust is a great, great mandate. And I believe you are having now another moment, such moment coming, because you, Denmark, will become presiding over European Union. But not only that, you will be part of the United Nations Security Council, non-permanent member. And there are those winds of globalism and winds of hatred against Jews that are blowing so hard. We were just in New York, you know, and how many? 143 nations voted to say, God, you have no right to tell the Jewish people you can live in your land. 143 nations said, we give you 12 months. We give Jews 12 months to leave East Jerusalem. Read Temple Mount. Read half of the city. We give you 12 months to leave Judea and Samaria and Gaza. Hello. Who are you? Why do nations rage? Why do they fight against God and his anointed, as Psalm 2 says? But this is where we are in this world. We are on a brink. A precipice is right before. And people don't realize. I mean, we heard it yesterday. how sick our world has become. Right is wrong, wrong is right, white is black, black is white. Blindness that has covered, I mean, this is what the scriptures say. Darkness covers the nations. We are right here. Danish people, Danish parliament didn't vote for the Palestinian state, didn't vote for non-existent entity, didn't vote. Switzerland, Denmark, I mean, few countries in Europe have kept sanity. We're here to make sure that Denmark, as it enters into this destiny hours, these are your destiny hours, will keep standing with the Jewish people.
Yeah. Let me just quickly move on here and say that this is also very, very important that Asian nations would take a stand for Israel. And we hear about the 10 nations moving and coming together for the Abrahamic Accords. And so Indonesia is one of them. So I think there's going to be some major changes coming into your part of the world. But in any case, Philip, Mark, Vinci, our friends, continue to pray. Continue to pray. There's the task, the mandate of dedicating the holy place, anointing the holy place that Prophet Daniel spoke about is still to be fulfilled. So many things we have to still accomplish. And I believe Asia will stand with Israel like never before. So on this time of Hanukkah and of course the Christmas time and change of the year, I just want to, from all of my heart, pray for you that God would give you wisdom. Like Daniel, God would give you wisdom what to do, how to raise support for Israel, because you raising support for Israel will be you raising a blessing for your nation. And maybe people won't understand it at that particular or this particular time, but it's truth nevertheless. So I just want to bless you and pray for you that God would strengthen you, God would give you wisdom, God would give you ability to stand with a great man of history that changed the history. I believe this is our calling. We are not just to view the history, we are called to change the history together with God, together with God's people. And so let me just speak a blessing over you, speak a blessing over your families, speak a blessing over your ministries, so that you may see God's good hand over you like Nehemiah had. So Father, I pray right now that you would bless Philip Mark, you would bless Vinci, you would heal them, strengthen them, and all their friends, Lord. I pray that they would be able to fulfill their calling and to bring their blessing over their nations, according to what your word says to Abraham, that I will bless those who bless you, I will curse him who curses you. So from all of my heart, with much love, may God bless you. Keep on doing the great work, Philip, Mark, and Vinci. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share this all with you. Happy Hanukkah and Happy New Year. Shalom, shalom.